Hello, everyone. Thank you for joining the Avaya Nexus technical overview session. I'm Mary Bora from the Sales Enablement team. We're excited to kick off our first technical session on the Avaya Nexus platform. Today's session is designed to provide a technical introduction to the platform and to help you build a strong understanding of its architecture, core capabilities, administration, resilience, and key technical features. And I'm pleased to be joined by a presenter, Vandana Broad, from the product management team. And we also have an extended team here to support the session today. So please feel free to submit your questions at any time in the chat during the presentation. And we will reserve time at the end for additional Q&A. With that, over to you, Vandana.
Thank you. And actually, thank you for actually joining the Avaya Nexus technical overview session. Like I was saying earlier, this is a bit of an exciting milestone for us because, we know we're here. We're getting close to our general availability date. So really, really happy to be talking about it and sharing the information and where we are. So what are we going to talk about? I mean, this is basically the shape of the session, what Avaya Nexus is, who it's for, and then we'll spend some time talking about three things that make Avaya Nexus distinctive: the architecture, resiliency and failover, trunking, and then from there we'll cover the capabilities, what's at GA, what's on the roadmap, endpoints, hardware, the capabilities around the voicemail functionality for the solution administration and 911. So we'll close with some of the resources that are going to be available to you and what's coming soon. And, if you only take three things away from today, I would say take the architecture, the resiliency model, and trunking, because that's really where we're driving some of the differentiation for Avaya Nexus. So looking at sort of a high-level overview, and, if you saw some earlier versions of what we were calling the one-pager offer on a page around Avaya Nexus, let me just give you sort of a brief definition. So Avaya Nexus is a critical communications infrastructure platform built for regulated and highly secure organizations, places where voice supports some very critical workflows, life safety, communications, emergency response, operational continuity, and so on. Where it becomes a different offer than just your standard unified communications. And we've seen this built up over the last couple of decades, layer over layer, right? The focus was here, we want to communicate across different channels. Now we want video, we want chat, we want meeting. And I'm just still talking just on the UC side. A lot of feature additions. And what that did is that built up a layer from a voice perspective with all of those enhancements on top. But one of the things that got commoditized in that process was voice itself. Now, in the verticals or in the space where we target voice as a priority, having that best effort voice solution was not enough, right? You need the quality, you need the resiliency, you need that dependability, the deterministic nature of being able to have that communication available to you for some of these workflows when we talk about organizations in healthcare, in finance, the federal government, and so on. So this is where it was kind of the realization that there needs to be something that provides that voice with those requirements and something that is cloud native. And why does it need to be cloud native is because as communication in the surround is expanding and a lot of things are feeding into those workflows, we're not able to leverage them unless we're ready to be able to integrate, ready with those APIs, ready to be able to leverage everything that is available while staying static from an architecture perspective. So Nexus is cloud native. We've broken the platform into discrete applications running in separate components, and that's what improves resiliency and simplifies the updates. It's a cloud smart on deployment, runs as a dedicated single tenant instance in the cloud, and as we go down the roadmap, also on the prem solution via hyperscaler. So we're starting with the deployment in the Azure cloud, bringing in support for Google Cloud as we go down the path for the solution. So the customers with data residency and security applications have a path for the solution that they need. Now, walking through this matrix, what's the who? So the existing Avaya Aura customers with 2,000 plus UC seats. So it is not meant for the mid-market. It is meant for the larger customer, especially those on release 8 and below, because this is where we're able to give them that modernization in a single step without needing the layer by layer or level by level upgrade in that solution who want to modernize. And then the net new logos. These are the enterprises that want reliability, security, and control inside their existing UC framework. The verticals, as I mentioned, are healthcare, government, defense contractors, first responders, utilities, transportation hubs and campuses, and so on. It's the always on reliability, the crystal clear voice, modernization with control. And it's not just about a user to user voice, right? Where we're going with some of the surround components that I was talking about, there are other engines that need to be driven with that voice, feeding into your AI workflows with voice that is of poor quality, is not clear, is missing data, is not able to drive those workflows. So it is critical from that perspective that we have that reliable voice feeding those workflows, and that always on reliable voice enabling that communication for those customers. It is a global offer deployed as a dedicated instance in the cloud and then expanding to the on-prem, supporting basically automated certificate management, migration via migration tools as part of the roadmap, and the devices spanning our Avaya key SIP devices, digital, analog, DECT, again, as part of the roadmap, including third-party devices that will be enabled, and all of that with the Avaya Nexus client, sort of desktop client that is made available as part of the solution. A key part of targeting these type of industries and this type of requirement is ensuring that all the required certifications and compliance go hand in hand. So, and I'll talk about how we get there on the roadmap side, but with 26.3, what we're looking at is being ready for some of those certifications as we exit 26.3 and make that first offer commercially available. It will then go into the process for certification testing. And then after that required period and the required coverage, I'm expecting that we will be certified with these key certifications in hand, 27.2, early 27.2, so April timeframe, not the later part. So that's kind of the timeline we're looking at on the compliance side. So net, this is just a quick snapshot of the who, what, where, why, and when. I didn't talk about the when yet. So a week from now, it is going to be quotable in our tools. So you can create quotes for Avaya Nexus in Avaya Store starting July 20th. These becoming orderable as we go towards the end of the quarter, September 30th. So those quotes would be able to be turned into orders at that time. So who do we go after first? And I think I talked about that a little bit already. So the primary target is existing Avaya Aura customers with the 2,000 seats or more, followed by net new logos. And on the vertical side, we're looking at healthcare, government, industrial and manufacturing, regulated industries, including financial services. The one commercial point really worth noting here is because it shapes the conversation for Avaya Nexus is that there's a significant price advantage for Aura 8.x and below. Again, it's because we're looking at an upgrade to Nexus rather than upgrade to Aura 10.x before they get to that modern solution. So Nexus really allows those customers to leapfrog straight to the latest platform and get off of their maintenance renewal cycles and sort of onto a worry-free subscription model. So that is often the most attractive path when we're looking at our installed base at Aura 8.x and below. So now we'll kind of get into the core of the session, really the architecture, and I'll walk through the different sort of components, both from what are we familiar with that we're keeping in hand, what is new, what we're inheriting with being able to leverage that Infinity platform, and then go into some of the details around the resiliency and the failover and the branch solution. So Very simply, it is a cloud native solution. And we see sort of that purple box around the Nexus cloud here, reflecting some of the key components. And I'll highlight what it is that we're inheriting from Avaya Aura. A key point that I would start with is that this is not simply Aura in the cloud. It is a full solution covering end-to-end all the components from a complete voice solution perspective. But it is kind of taking the best of what we have in hand with Avaya Aura. And you see that the communication manager there as the telephony feature server. So while I say that that is there, that does not mean that we have all the 800 features that are available in Avaya Aura today available with 26.3. The rollout of the features is going to be something that we drive to be fully integrated into the cloud solution, release over release. And there is a set of features that are going to be part of the available solution in 26.3, giving you a complete voice telephony solution at that point, and some of the enhanced features. And then you'll see that getting built out as part of the roadmap itself. So that's where the CM will come in. The thing to understand here is that while not all the 800 features are going to be available, we will be able to leverage what Avaya does best in providing those advanced voice features and enabling them release over release in a way that is a complete fit with the cloud solution. Another component here is the Avaya enablement service, bringing the DMCC and the SIP APIs. And that's part of what we'll be leveraging to integrate with the recording solution that you see in the picture here. That is part of the core deployed components within the cloud, hand in hand with the Avaya SBC, which is sort of your connection point into that cloud solution. In that deployment, in that deployed cloud instance, there are a number of components that are net new for the Avaya Nexus service. So voicemail, it's a brand new voicemail component or product that is part of the Nexus solution. And the basic voicemail, or rather the standard voicemail, is going to be part of the standard offering with Nexus and 26.3 itself. And with the add-ons coming from a voicemail perspective with some of the more specialized features, enhanced features, again, integration with some of the AI workflows, for example, coming as part of the roadmap. Now, the session services providing the SIP support in the solution is also new, and it's sort of the right fit from a cloud perspective. And when I say that, what that means is what you don't see here is, for example, the session manager or the system manager from Aura, because, like I said, the intent here is not to drive this forward as Avaya Aura in the cloud. The intent here is to enable a cloud native architecture, taking the best of what we have in hand, and then really driving the components net new to provide the modernization from an offer perspective that we need. So no system manager as well. It's replaced with the Avaya Nexus administration. This is built off of, if you're familiar with the Avaya AXP admin portal, leveraging the same sort of baseline and as a net new component within the solution. Now, one of the things that we were able to get sort of as an easy win, building on that Infinity architecture, are key things like analytics, the monitoring, and the platform component itself. And this is where, if you're familiar with the Avaya Infinity, some of the AI integration on the analytics side inherently come as part of the solution when they're enabled with Avaya Nexus. Now, outside of the cloud, there is the on-prem, or more of the customer-driven part of the solution. So again, the components being what the customer may already have that they're able to leverage. So the Avaya SBCs, or a certified SBC, with the solution that provides the connectivity, the carrier connectivity and the connectivity with the Nexus Cloud instance. G450, and you'll see more conversation around that as that is enabled in 26.4, enabling the branch solution. So here, a key part of that is the customer being able to leverage their investment into the solution that they're moving forward with, being able to use their G450s, and then also the endpoints. So the J series are the SIP devices that are part of the supported hardware endpoints in 26.3, expanding that to digital in 26.4, along with analog in 26.4. DECT is 27.1, and then you'll see that endpoint roadmap also being added to quarter over quarter with every release. Avaya Nexus client called out in purple because it is new. Again, it's that approach of the best of. It is taking all our learnings from one of our base favorite with the Avaya Workplace and giving a more modernized UI, giving a better fit for voice UI and a cloud native product again with the client. This is going to be desktop with support for Windows and Mac in 26.3 and enabling the mobile client with iOS and Android coming in 26.4. Now, when we take a look at some of the add-ons, the variant recording solution that is available with Avaya Infinity and AXP Private. So within the Avaya ecosystem already is the supported recording solution for UC that will be part of the 26.4 release. Having said that, you will see in the roadmap is plans to extend that into more options with an Avaya provided UC recording solution down the path. On the 911 emergency calling services support, it is the 911 Inform solution that is going to be supported, and it's going to be a mandatory attach for US, sort of providing support of the Carey and Ray Bombs Act, and also highly recommended for Canada, but it is an optional component outside of that from an architecture perspective. So this kind of gives the overview of the different components that are part of the solution. And the intent here is, it's that cloud dedicated instance in the infrastructure that is going to be also expanded on. So like I said, Azure for the commercial offer as we go out to the market in 26.3. And as part of the roadmap, we are extending that to support of the Google Cloud Platform available for FedRAMP and the commercial offer. So this slide, really what I wanted to reflect was what are the 4 pillars that are the key building blocks of the solution. So Avaya Nexus is cloud native. We've broken the platform into those discrete components, which is what gives us the ability to provide the resiliency, drive towards a zero downtime upgrade. You patch or scale one component without taking the system down. It scales from 2,000 users with 26.3. And again, as part of the roadmap, what you will see is going up to 50,000 and beyond, up to 80,000 across the releases. Nexus is not simply Aura in the cloud. I mean, I know I said that a couple of times, and I would like to keep iterating that because we carry forward sort of the proven Aura components, communication manager, AES, gateways, BC, the call reporting, but re-platform and joined by brand new cloud native components. So the session services, monitoring, platform, admin portal, client, and the voicemail. Select Aura capabilities at the first GA, and the feature set is going to grow release over release. Deployment flexibility is another key differentiator and a pillar for the architecture, a dedicated single tenant instance in the cloud today with an on-prem option via hyperscalers that is planned for Nexus Local at 27.2. So it's following the Infinity roadmap, but we're looking at +2 quarters to really being able to provide the premise solution. Avaya managed operations that includes automated certificate management, and it will be extended to a cloud migration tool provided to the professional services team to drive the migration. It interoperates with Avaya Infinity, leveraging the shared sort of analytics and platform infrastructure. Now, the 4th pillar is table stakes for our verticals. So the single tenant isolation, TLS 1.3, FIPS 140-3, SHA-256 support, and the full compliance stack with the roadmap for GDPR, SOC 2, PCI compliance, ISO 27K, HIPAA, FedRAMP, PCI. So this is really about not the story kind of ending at 26.3. This is from a compliance perspective. The plan, like I said, is we exit the release from a compliance readiness, and then going into the certification testing and get certified across these requirements, meeting that baseline fundamental requirement across the verticals. So this kind of forms the pillars of that architecture that you saw broken down into the more detailed picture that we looked at earlier. So here, if I want to take a look at the breakdown specifically from, again, everything on the left runs in the Nexus Cloud. It's a dedicated single tenant instance in Azure, deployed active across 2 availability zones. And everything on the right is what stays or can stay on the customer premises. So the cloud side, session services handles SIP, the telephony feature server, as I mentioned, is the CM. AES provides the application enablement and DMCC. You have the endpoint configuration, and the provisioner handles the device onboarding, the deployment of the instance, and voicemail analytics, reporting, monitoring platform, and the browser-based Nexus administration. One thing actually I did forget to really call out from the endpoint configuration service. So that was another new component in the cloud. And that's kind of a marriage of what I was saying again, best of what we already do best with taking the key components from AADS and PPM, for example, and created a new service with that endpoint configuration that's called out from a cloud perspective here. On the premise side, this is the investment protection side as well. Customers get to keep their SBCs, their G450 gateways, their J100 devices, and then down the roadmap with their analog, DECT, third-party devices, and then leveraging 911 Inform for 911 emergency services and Verint for recording. So really no rip and replace from that perspective. Here we have SIP for calls, HTTPS and WSS for clients, and admin, H248 tunneling, enabling the branch support with the gateways, SIPRX support for Verint recording and the REST APIs for third-party integration. And I expect that library of those APIs is going to expand, and you'll see that reflected in the roadmap as well. So all open, standards-based, no custom middleware, and then because this is dual availability zone with premises fallback, resiliency actually behaves when something fails. And I'll talk through how that happens as part of the failover architecture slide that we'll get to in another minute. So this is Avaya Nexus priority class of service. And I think the name gives away what this functionality does. This is one of the things that I'm very excited about. Priority class of service is one of our genuine differentiators. So when we take a look at our customers, and I mentioned the different verticals that we're targeting, right? You take a look at a big medical facility. The operating room phone has to have a different priority and should not be competing with your X-ray room phone where you call for update on some results. Your emergency dispatch line or the trading desk should not be competing with routine office traffic during a failover or high load situation or at any given time, right? And this is really where the priority class of service comes in. When we sort of defined what Nexus was going to mean to us, one of the fundamental things that we wanted to drive as part of that solution was how do we ensure then that for that user who is that much level higher priority, how do we ensure that we provide that differentiated service? And how do we do that at a level where it's not just an add-on, you add this attribute, turn this knob, and you have this feature added, which will now handle sort of an on-top service better. But how do we drive this at a foundational level so that we differentiate certain type of users in the verticals that we're targeting? So these are what we call the priority class of users. So conventional UC platforms apply sort of one uniform class of service to everyone. Nexus lets a customer designate a bounded subset of users, so a maximum of 40% users as priority, and the platform guarantees them preferential treatment. Now, 40% is the maximum, and really it comes down to not everything can be priority one. If every user in the solution was a high priority, then in effect, no one would become high priority. So this is where it's a bounded set that you're able to classify as a priority set of users. And that really plays out 4 ways in the architecture itself. So earlier outage detection, so priority users get a shorter detection window, so the issues are caught sooner. There's prioritized failover. Tagged users are handled ahead of others during failover. During a sort of resource congestion or high resource usage, the platform is architected to allocate resources to these higher priority users first, guaranteeing them the bandwidth to connect from the resources that are available, and really driving a level of deterministicness that becomes a key part of any solution that we would call a priority voice, and being able to provide that deterministic real-time delivery. So the whole capability drive towards what we want to be, which is that zero downtime, rapid coordination, providing secure paths for time-sensitive operations, real differentiation. And we will take a look at that competitive view there. It's something that is not provided across any of the other UC offerings that are available in the market today. So a key differentiator for Avaya Nexus, and I think something that provides a fundamental foundation, I would say, for the features that are going to be developed on top over the roadmap. So this section is really about resiliency, and I would say where Nexus earns the word critical. So I'll cover the branch solution and then the failover redundancy architecture, and then talk a little bit about the network and bandwidth requirements as we go there. So this is the branch picture in normal operation. The dedicated instance runs in an Azure region across 2 availability zones, active, connected by a redundant, low latency, high capacity network. The SIP clients here would be the Nexus client and the J-series phones, for example, connect simultaneously to both availability zone 1 and 2 at the same time. And there's no standby to fail over 2. They're already registered to both. So if a component fails in one availability zone, it is able to be addressed with the second availability zone. If a zone goes down, there is failover to the second availability zone. But if both zones become unreachable, the SIP clients connect to their assigned branch. And this is kind of the safety net that the failover solution brings to the table. So being that cloud native solution, we're able to leverage what these hyperscalers make available to us to provide a whole other level of resiliency at a component level, at a zone level, and then really extending that to a branch level with what our clients and endpoints support today, with the multiple SIP registrations being able to fail over to a customer local branch as needed at the time of a failure when that happens, if that happens. So this is more of the failure in action. We saw what the solution looked like in sort of an operational view. So this shows the 2 layers of protection. In the cloud, the deployment is dual availability zone. Zone A and Zone B are both active. But the Redis memory shadowing actually replicates active session state across the zones, which is what enables a SIP call continuation to happen if there's a failure. If a node fails or a whole zone fails, active sessions are maintained and they're not dropped. Then there's the cloud out scenario we can be looking at from a failure perspective. So what do we need there for the safety net? If both availability zone and A and B become unreachable due to a major outage, the endpoints detect the loss of the cloud signaling and they initiate sort of a pre-configured reconnection to the local resources. And this is where the branch solution, the branch SBC and media gateway take over the PSD and trunking and media processing, and the clients and the hardware endpoints, the JA100, they automatically re-register with the branch and restore the voice services. So the voice keeps working even with no cloud is the key piece of the solution that Avaya Nexus brings to the table. So Three key sort of layers of protection that I've mentioned. Layer one, normal operation. The dedicated instance runs active-active across the two Azure availability zones, and really leveraging whatever cloud infrastructure that you'd be building on, like their availability zone, on a redundant, low latency, high capacity network. So this is where some of the networking requirements come in that I will share in a minute. And then the Avaya SIP clients register to both zones at the same time, so there is no failover delay to a standby at that point. At the layer two level, then we're looking at the differentiator, which is the SIP call continuation, where, like I mentioned earlier, the memory shadowing is used to replicate the active sessions across the zones. So if a node or a whole zone fails, the call keeps going. Sessions are maintained, they don't get dropped. So competitors have resilience, but they generally cannot continue the active call seamlessly across a nodal failure. Microsoft, for example, does not have an equivalent. At the next layer of the fail-out scenario, which is the cloud out scenario, if both zones become unreachable, the endpoints detect loss of signaling or their connectivity to the cloud and automatically reconnect to the local branch. So the solution then is taken over with, like I'd mentioned, the SBC and the gateway taking over the trunking and media, and the clients connecting to the local branch itself. So this is a layered model with the dual availability zone, call continuation, branch survivability, and that is really the crux of how we deliver the always on, targeting the ongoing availability and targeting the zero downtime that we would be looking for from the solution. So I won't talk too much through this one and the next. This is really the network recommendations from an endpoint perspective. This is not any different from what Avaya has shared before in the past with the solutions. So, under 50 milliseconds, it's great. Obviously not acceptable if you're looking at a latency in that network of more than 300 milliseconds. For the deployment engineers, these are the network numbers, and the grading is reflected here. And this is where the customer would have that conversation with Avaya Professional Services or the partner in terms of ensuring that the minimum requirements of having a viable network solution are at the table. So, and the next slide actually goes into the VoIP network requirements. This is really the focus on the bandwidth by current calls. We know exactly how much bandwidth is required for a single call, and the thresholds around bandwidth planning. So the rule of thumb is 300 kilobits per second per concurrent call, and then if you extend that to your users and networking requirements, so you use concurrent tables, not seat counts. So look at the WAN, and remember these are media figures on top of everything else that's on the link. So again, part of your network planning and ensuring that network solution meets the requirements of at a fundamental level to be able to provide quality voice and connectivity to the Nexus solution. And it's more of a design reminder before we leave sort of the topping around networking. So when you assess the latency, you have to consider every network and every path end to end, starting with the originating endpoint, the caller, to the calling from across the network, across the WAN, into the cloud, back to the called user or the terminating endpoint. So the latency is additive across all of these hops. A single link testing doesn't guarantee a good call. So it is the full originating to terminating path that has to stay inside the thresholds that we've just talked about in terms of connectivity to Nexus and ensuring that you have the quality voice that you're looking for as part of the solution. So the next section here is, as you saw, is about trunking. How do calls get to and from the carrier network? How Nexus connects to Infinity, for example. I'll kind of go across the different configurations that are going to be supported as part of the solution. Now, what we're looking at here is really how trunking on Nexus is delivered. So it is delivered using the Avaya Bring Your Own Carrier, so BYOC. And there are two flavors that we're already familiar with, they expect. So BYOC standard is cloud terminated. The trunk lands directly on Avaya Nexus. There's no on-premise equipment required for this solution. It connects to the public internet or VoIP. Routing is cloud-based, and it's best for pure cloud new deployments. When we take a look at The other alternative would be BYOC hybrid. It's a prem terminated with a trunk landing on sort of prem-based edge or SBC. So it requires an on-prem SBC or an edge appliance, connects over the public internet, uses localized prem-based routing, and it's the right choice for like migrations, appliance cases where media must stay on-prem and things like that. So that is basically sort of the two key options from a connectivity perspective. And how does that translate into the different configurations that are supported? So here's the headline sort of principle for every trunking configuration. The media routes directly to Nexus. There is no unnecessary media anchoring, and you'll see that in each of the configurations that I will highlight. Routing is always under the customer's control, either on their enterprise SBC or through their carrier configurations. Whether the customer is on BYOC standard or BYOC hybrid, media takes the direct path to the intended solution rather than being hairpinned through extra hops. This is a key part of what protects the call quality and keeps the latency down that we were looking at earlier. So BYOC hybrid or BYOC standard, and the connectivity on the enterprise SBC or via the customer carrier configuration. So many of our customers run Nexus for enterprise voice alongside Avaya Infinity is what I'm going to expect for the contact center. So this configuration is key. The PSTN can trunk to Avaya Nexus and to the Avaya Infinity, the media processing core, with media routed to the intended solution directly. Again, no unnecessary anchoring. Nexus calls to the Infinity MPC support Nexus subscribers calling into the contact center and back. So this connectivity is going to support calling between the UC and the CC user from the contact center to the backend SME, or if a UC user is calling HR, for example, from a CC perspective, that is supported with that configuration. The key for this is that the BYOC standard carriers must be certified with MPC, and the list of those certified carriers, it's the same as what you've seen with the Avaya Infinity, and it is documented in the offer definition. So this covers more of the intersystem trunk, so the trunk between the Nexus and the Infinity solution. It, like I said, works in both directions. The Infinity agents can call Avaya Nexus, back office users and Avaya Nexus subscribers can call into the Infinity contact center. It isn't anchored or backhauled through the premises. So again, simple connectivity, and we are looking at optimizations release over release to ensure that that integration between Nexus and Infinity is improved, but this trunk integration is going to be part of the available sort of trunk options, and I'll talk through that from a commercial perspective in the following slide. So this is sort of an overview of the full menu of the trunk types and the commercials attached to it. So again, like I'd mentioned, the BYOC standard terminates at the carrier and the hybrid terminates on the enterprise network. Both are for trunk connections. So the first 6 trunk connections are part of the Avaya Nexus subscription. I'm not talking about the professional services in terms of configuring the trunk or about the sort of the carrier contracts that the customer would have, which would be owned by the customer and between the customer and the carrier. But this is about incremental trunk addition from a cloud connectivity perspective. Normally, there's a cost per trunk. 6 of those are going to be included with the Nexus subscription. In addition, the trunk to the recording solution are part of the solution. Connectivity or the integration with Avaya Infinity is also part of the subscription. And connectivity to Microsoft is also part of the solution, as that will come as part of the Nexus Advanced bundle. And I'll talk about that a little bit more. So no cost across these. As part of the roadmap, as we support connectivity with third-party applications and other cloud services, things that are bringing more media-rich and integration with AI solutions that have variated costs and require different number of ports from that connectivity perspective. This is where the costs come in and are going to be commercialized independently. This is going to be part of the roadmap. We don't have the commercials for that application integration in 26.3, but you will see an incremental cost for that over time as that's made available. So this is more of a summary, sort of pulling the trunking picture together. So the media routes to Nexus directly, no unnecessary routing. This is a key part of the connectivity solution on the side. And the routing is always under the customer's control on their enterprise SBC or their carrier. 3 supported configuration standard where the carrier comes into the customer prem, SBC, and to Nexus. BYOC standard, which is going to have them bring their own certified carrier, routed carrier side, and then the hybrid, sort of a prem SBC plus carrier trunking into Nexus with 6 BYOC hybrid trunks included and more available at cost. So more of an overview of what we've just talked about from a connectivity perspective. And now we jump into the capabilities. So what will Nexus go GA with? What does it look like, features and functionality wise? And then I'll talk about the roadmap a little bit as we go there. So this is a very busy view, but really the intention here is to show everything that the offer brings to the table foundationally. Remember, this is a brand new voice solution that is going to have its first commercial release in 26.3 and extended to include a branch solution in 26.4 and an overview of what's going to be available across sort of the key pillars. So security compliance with support for multi-factor authentication, single sign-on, role-based access, classes restriction support, and then ensuring we exit that release with a readiness on the certification side and going into the certification testing. At a platform and administration and infrastructure level, so there's the Nexus administration that we will have, again, built on what you may be familiar with, the Avaya AXP admin portal. We will also be leveraging as to enable zero-touch device provisioning, SBC clustering to bring high availability, branch survivability as part of that platform, failover, G450 for branch support, AES that I mentioned earlier as well for the enablement services with SIP and direct media call control. On the client side, the clients, the hardware clients that we would support, SIP, and then extending that in the roadmap and a brand new Nexus client with a desktop for Windows and Mac, followed by mobile with iOS and Android support. And then the features that these clients bring to the table with the high quality codec being the baseline and the noise cancellation features. Now, the next set of features are really around ensuring all the fundamental voice features, your SIPPing 19 features, what you would expect as part of a feature-rich telephony solution to be made available. So including rich call appearance, which is one I get asked about all the time as part of the 26.3 release. And then we will see a release over release availability of features being extended as part of the roadmap. When we look at collaboration and conferencing, we will have ad hoc conferencing support with 6 users extending to 12 users. So 6 users in 26.3, 12 users 26.4. And that is going to be sort of the extent from a collaboration perspective as far as Nexus is concerned. Really, because this is a voice solution and the focus is voice, and let us bring to the table what we do best and allow the customer to bring to the table what they want. From a UC solution collaboration side of the house, it's a bring your own collaboration that you would have integration via trunking with, and the customer would be able to bring their collaboration of choice with Teams, Zoom, Google, and so on. And then some of the components we already saw even as part of the architecture in extending that for, enabling the recording via leveraging the variant recording solution that we have. And we'll see that extended as part of the roadmap. The voice quality detection and monitoring capabilities, that will be part of the roadmap as well. The alerting and analytics we get as part of the platform, and the integration with the 911 Inform solution as a baseline. So feature rich across all the different components that make up a full cloud native resilient telephony solution for voice. And then we kind of get into how does that translate and extend from there into the roadmap side. So what I talked about is really the focus in the first two columns on the platform, security, functionality, and so on for 26.3 and 26.4. And then 27.1, we see sort of that platform extended to bring in support for GCP commercial. So for the FedRAMP solution that we're driving readiness for as part of the commercial release is going to be GCP only. So FedRAMP is not currently planned to be available on Azure, but GCP as a commercial offer is part of the roadmap. Extending the administration capabilities to things that today the professional services team would be leveraging a lot of the PIs directly into the solution, providing a user interface into a new administration tool is also part of the roadmap, with 27.1 being that starting point and that being extended release over release. So you can see the phase 1, phase 2, and phase 3 across that. Extending the platform to support the on-prem with local. Now, the timing of this, and this is again plan of intent, the timing of this can shift. At a platform level, we'd be looking to leverage the Infinity delivery of the local solution. And then, like I said, I expect probably 2 quarters following that to bring that for Nexus. And then the same thing as it lines up with geo-redundancy side of things. Another sort of key use case that Avaya Nexus will bring support for is Avaya Infinity backwards compatibility. So being able to enable some of those elite features, being able to use the vectors, for example, in the workflows that the customer may be using for their on-prem elite solution as they've migrated to Infinity, and bringing that in to the cloud solution with having agents. Access to that capability will be through the Avaya Infinity backwards compatibility support that Nexus will be enabling. On the functionality side, again, you see the release of a release extension of the capabilities with chat and messaging as part of the solution. One of the fundamental features, we'll have contacts coming in 26.4, but extending that with directory search. Last dial in 27.1, enhanced diagnostics. Shared call control is another one that I've been asked for, is part of the roadmap along with hunt group support. There is a plan to support point-to-point video. Again, really keeping a real clear demarc between Nexus versus collaboration. It will just be point-to-point video, and then the voicemail add-ons as well that I had mentioned earlier. And again, I won't talk through these line by line, but you'll see that extended across the quarter-over-quarter release, extending into enhanced AI integrations, adding on additional endpoints and devices, extending that to third-party solutions that expand on the system with offerings from the likes of Hermes and real-time voice AI by One Meta. From a user packages perspective, commercially, there are 2 user packages as part of the first commercial release, Essential and Advanced. You can see some of the differences in terms of what's available in one versus the other. E-voice features are going to be across the both, with some of the advanced features tied to the advanced package. These differentiations are called out in the offer definition. Standard voicemail is going to be part of both the bundles, APIs, desk phone support, SIPing 19, again, voice fundamentals again, the priority class of service, the priority voice user, again, across the 2 bundles, clients across the 2 bundles, and then some of the enhanced features and the Microsoft integration capabilities coming with the advanced bundle in the commercial offering. So this is another slide that I really like because it kind of lays out, we may be new as in a brand new cloud native voice-centric solution coming to the table, but we're coming in heavy right from the get-go. It's a competitive view against even Aura, Microsoft, Zoom, Cisco, and Mitel, and really focusing on where Avaya will lead with Nexus right off the bat from 26.3 on. So Aura to Nexus modernization. So we're the only vendor with a direct tooled migration from the Avaya install base with data and routing continuity. So the migration tool is GA 26.4, but we would be the only offering that would be able to provide that migration. The second key thing is the investment protection. So we carry the existing Avaya estate forward with phones, gateways, analog, digital, and so on. Competitors can only re-register a limited set of handsets. 3, when we take a look at sovereignty and the dedicated single instance, so a dedicated cloud instance with an on-prem option as part of the roadmap is a key part of the solution. The FedRAMP authorization on GCP targeted with 27.2 builds upon that differentiation. 4 is the always-on survivability. Active call survives zone failures. Branch takes over if the cloud is unreachable. Our competitors have resilience, but that lacks seamless call continuation across nodal failures. And Microsoft, for example, does not have an equivalent. 5 is the priority class of service, where you can designate up to a maximum of 40% of users as those critical voice users, providing a whole other level of differentiated service, even within a priority offering that no other UC vendor offers at this level. So these are key differentiation conversation points. But the key thing is Aura remains the benchmark for the deep PBX, while Nexus will deliver the core telephony without targeting full Aura parity. There's no intention here, like I said, to be providing the full 800 features, no intention of targeting the full Aura parity. Persistent messaging and SMS are areas where I would say some of our competitors lead, but we are going to be providing chat and messaging as part of the roadmap, support of chat messaging 27.1, fax 27.2. SMS is not planned. Again, Nexus is voice first. Reporting and real-time analytics, which lean on the Avaya Infinity in the deployment, is another key differentiator, and the device breadth, which we will be growing quarter over quarter. So a very comprehensive view of the individual pillars and attributes that we look at when we're looking at voice solutions across in the marketplace today. And what we see is that Avaya Nexus brings that differentiator in the space that it is targeted for. So from a cost perspective, and this is something that I hear often, is it's not about cheaper software. If you're comparing just the licensing, sure, your licensing is going to look like it costs more. It's really about the whole cost of ownership across a period of time. The license line can grow, but when you're looking at, for example, an Aura deployment today, all the hardware, the infrastructure, the endpoints, and the operations and the lifecycle management of it bring a whole differentiated cost that is not kind of visible on first glance, but definitely plays a key role when you're looking at cost of ownership in the solution. So now we'll take a look at some of the add-on components and features. So starting with the endpoints and hardware. Nexus Client, this is your first look at the modernized UI. Cloud native, it's designed exclusively for Avaya Nexus Cloud. The GA release is going to support desktop with mobile support coming. And again, some of the security features and requirements translate and permeate into the client and in fact into voicemail and the administration as we take a look at those features. It is that next generation user interface, modernized, really positioning voice first, as you can see in the attributes in the sort of the screenshot shared here of the client. This is really, again, the specific roadmap for the client. So we are looking at Windows 11 support with 26.3 and Mac 27 version support and the features therein. At this point, from a 26.3, yes, we don't have feature parity across Windows and Mac. That gap is planned to be closed shortly after that in the following release. So the intention is to keep Windows and Mac on parity release over release as we move forward. Taking a look at the endpoints, I think this is not new. This is the endpoints that we're already familiar with, and really reflecting that we are planning to support all the J series models, and that again is going to be extended as part of the roadmap. On the hardware side, so the G450s, as I mentioned, is the other big investment protection for the customer migrating to Nexus. As the Avaya's call control platform moves to Nexus, the G450s carries forward as a supported edge-friendly branch gateway and really enables that branch solution and will bring the support of the analog and digital devices sitting behind it as part of the deployment. voicemail. So again, not really too much to call out from a conversation perspective. The voicemail solution is new. Standard voicemail will be part of the user packages. So you'll have a user dashboard view as well as the configuration view. So if we go down to the next slide, again, more of a modernized UI, providing all the voicemail standard capabilities in 26.3 with the add-ons. So what we're looking at here is the dashboard, the greetings and the configurations that can be done. And again, similar to what we looked at for the client, so that voicemail breakdown of the feature breakout of what's part of the 26.3, and then what will come as the voicemail add-on that you saw in the roadmap. So this is really the Nexus administration, sort of providing 3 simple role-based portals in one cloud-native single pane of glass. Really, the goal here is to move the day-to-day admin through these interfaces, both at a system level, admin level, and at the user level, and with differentiated capabilities across these. So we can just walk through the next couple of slides showing both the UI and the features across the 3 different roles. So the administration capabilities. And here's the UI. Again, if you've seen the Avaya AXP admin portal, a very common look and feel, and sort of that single pane glass of feel across the roles. This again goes into the feature breakout. This is the admin portal, administration portal rather, and more at the IT level, enabling features, add, delete users, and so on. So you'll see that in the following slide on the feature list side of things. So provisioning user, deprovisioner, manage features, monitoring. Again, something standard that we would expect to see as part of the different sort of user personas for an administration interface. And now at the user level, being able to change set password. And again, the next slide is going to walk through the specific features. So migration tool. So from a migration tool perspective, the call out really here is we don't have the migration tool as part of the 26.3 release. It is going to be a tool that is going to enable via professional services to leverage an automated system to transition a customer from an on-prem existing solution to the cloud. And it brings what the ability to have this tool and this user interface and to have this automated brings to the table is enabling the customer to migrate at their own pace, the reduced cost in terms of the migration, reduced errors in terms of that migration, which translate directly into cost and time, preserving that data integrity and allowing that seamless migration to happen using Avaya professional services. Now, what I expect over time is once the solution evolves, that we would enable partners to be driving some of the activities around the surround for the offering. But initially, we are still looking at Avaya professional services to really get to a point of maturity. But this would be one of the areas that we would look at for that. So 911, again, a key and a mandatory requirement, and sort of one of the last pieces that we will talk about. It is really required to meet Kerry's Law and WABOMS Act to provide emergency services from a location detection perspective and ensuring that we make that available as part of the solution. So it is the only solution supported with Avaya Nexus today and can be purchased through the Avaya store. And the offering is as it is available. So it's not new from an Avaya Nexus perspective, but it is integrated both from a technical solution perspective as well as the commercialization piece where Avaya is a reseller, and that is available with the first GA release in 26.3. So this is really around how 911 location detection works. I would really recommend that we walk through the offer definition for the 911 informed solution for the details, but the ability to provide that solution to the 911 service is the key regulatory requirement and enabled through this solution. And it's supported both from a hardware and soft client perspective. And with that, we come to the end of the technical conversation, and I'll hand this back to Mary to talk through all the other goodies that we have with the offer.
Thank you, Vandana, for that excellent technical overview. And many of you are familiar with the resources slide, where we capture all the asset, resources, and pages available on the Information Hub. We have updated the slide with new assets, including the offer definition, Avaya Nexus Sales FAQ, and you'll also see the link to today's presentation. Thank you, everyone, for being here today. We hope you found today's technical overview valuable and that it has given you a strong foundation on the Avaya Nexus platform. Thank you to our presenter, Vandana, and our extended team for supporting this session. And thank you all again. Have a wonderful day.